Good morning. It's Karina here with your Chat with Karina for Friday. Today we're talking about 4 common misconceptions about selling online and what you should think about instead. You know, when you join this group, you answer questions and you tell me what your biggest challenge is. So I was reading through some of those and thinking about where you're hung up. And I know a lot of you ladies are in the academy too, so but a lot of you aren't. And since the academy is closed now, and we're doing a new thing next month, I just feel like I really want to get you guys on the right track. So we're going to do a little bit of what I call reframing your mind this morning. So the first thing that I'm talking about is I've been hearing some of you say that the market is oversaturated. So who thinks the market is oversaturated? Do any of you guys feel that way? Because I know it can be kind of scary when you see a whole bunch of other people doing what you're trying to do. So do any of you guys on here right now think that the market is oversaturated for online selling? And this isn't a new thing. I mean, this is something that I've been hearing for years. I actually heard it a lot more a few years ago than I hear it now, which I think is kind of interesting. But this is something that I did not know when I first started. If you feel like there are a lot of people doing what you're wanting to do, that tells you that there are buyers for that, right? So if there weren't a lot of people doing it, that would mean that there's not a market for it potentially. So the good news is if you see a lot of people trying to sell online, that means there are a lot of people buying online. So it's a little bit of a mind shift. Like instead of being scared and saying, oh, there are too many people doing this, I shouldn't even waste my time, you should be excited because that means there are lots of buyers. So what I want you to do when you think about the market being saturated, Tess says, I think because starting the boutique, I'm getting spammed by other boutiques. Ooh, tell me more about that. How do you think that you're getting spammed by other boutiques? I'm just curious. I think, like when you're pregnant and all of a sudden you notice that like everyone that you see is pregnant, or let's say you buy a new car and it's like a certain kind and you all of a sudden notice everybody's driving that car. I think you just become a lot more aware. And Tess, maybe you mean on Facebook, like you're getting a lot of ads shown to you for boutiques maybe. And that would be because you've shown interest in boutiques. So Facebook's picking up on that. So I feel like you just become more aware of everyone out there than maybe you didn't, even pay attention before. Cause I swear every time I was pregnant, like everywhere I looked, there were pregnant ladies. And it really wasn't that way, right? Like really, there were no more pregnant women than there always had been, right? But it was just like I was noticing them more. So to reframe your mind, I want you to think about who is your customer, not the boutique down the street's customer. So, okay, let's say there are tons of boutiques, right? Who is your customer and how can you serve them, regardless of what everyone else is doing? So you don't want to build your business by comparison to everyone else because for all you know, what they're doing is not working. They're crying at night because they're not selling stuff. They're looking for answers, and if you think that they know everything and you start copying what they're doing, you could be in the same boat as them here in a few months, right? Does that make sense? So regardless of what that boutique is doing, they may have a different customer than you have. They may cater to like a younger crowd than what you're going to cater to or what you do cater to, right? Have you ever noticed this is something that happens in Kansas City a lot. A restaurant, for example, will open up, and I pay a lot of attention to commercial property. I don't know why. I've just always been like super interested in like how people choose locations and how long they stay in business. And my husband and I are always like, as we drive through town, oh, look, they're out of business. Okay, well, we called that like a year ago because we went there and they had bad service and this and that. Okay. Have you ever noticed that the more successful, or the ones that appear to be more successful restaurants, are restaurants that are around other restaurants? Did you ever notice that? Anybody else? Think about that. Think about that, because let's say you go to the mall. The mall has restaurants all around the edge of it, right? And they all serve food. And inside the mall is usually a food court, right? So what if the restaurant said, forget that, we're not going into that parking lot, because all those people in the mall, they're just going to eat the mall food. So there's no point in putting a restaurant out here in the parking lot, because they already have access to food, and I'm sure that food's really good, and they're probably just going to eat that food. Isn't that crazy? But instead, the really super smart restaurant operators, they know that their customers inside shopping, and their customer does not want to eat mall food. So they put their restaurant in the parking lot and they feed off the mall traffic, right? They know who their customer is and they know where to find them. So instead of worrying about all of that, the market's oversaturated, like there are 3 boutiques in my town, I'm like, I don't think that I can do this because the lady down the street sells jeans and, no one will buy from me. Instead, I want you to think about who is your customer and how can you serve them? And don't worry about what those other people are doing. Hi, Judy. Man, I have allergies today. Drainage. Yay. Okay, yes. This is, eye-opening, right? It's crazy because when you focus on what others are doing, it's like you miss all the stuff that you should be focusing on. It's like my mom always said, I'm the oldest of 6, and she was always telling my brothers, you just worry about yourself. You don't worry about what your brother's doing, right? Okay, number 2. It's the same, selling online, common misconception. Selling online is the same as selling in a brick and mortar. Do any of you guys have a brick and mortar store, or do you sell in a storefront? Just yes or check mark. Can you do a check mark? Okay. I know some ladies that joined our group have a brick and mortar because they told me when they signed up. Okay. So, selling in a brick and mortar is not the same as selling online, because you may have, and I've talked to a lot of ladies that they're like, I've had a successful boutique and I thought I would just open my online store and it would just blow up, and nothing happened. Like, I'm not selling anything online, can you help me? And it's really interesting, right? Because they're almost like 2 different businesses, because when you have a brick and mortar, you're only selling to people in your town. And when you have an online store, you're selling to everyone in the whole US, typically, right? Because it's a lot of extra work to sell outside the US. So it's really like a totally different business, though it's connected. So if you have a brick and mortar and you're wanting to sell online, you're going to have to do your reframe is you're going to think about what's working now in the storefront. I always call it a storefront. I don't like brick and mortar. I don't know why I've always called it a storefront. So you're going to take what you're doing in your storefront and you're going to test it online, and you're going to try driving traffic to your online store from your customers that walk into your storefront. American Eagle does this really well. They will actually do sales that are only good online. So like, for example, I had an email from American Eagle, and I wear their jeans, right? And their t-shirts. I like those couple things from there. So I went into American Eagle thinking I was going to get that great deal, right? It was like 30% off or something. Oh no, that's online only. Yeah. So guess what that tells me? They're trying to drive traffic to their online store, right? Because they're just like you. If you have a storefront, you know, it's a completely different customer. So you're going to have to try different tactics. You can have the same product in your storefront and online, or you can have different product, but you're going to have to do some testing, right? Because it's a completely different business. So all you have to do is test it and see what works. You may find that your online customer is younger or older or in a different season, you know, like maybe they're in the South and you're in the North. So being online is that's kind of like starting a new business. And you just have to do some testing, right? And just see what you can do. You can try to convert some of your in-store customers to buy online if that's what you want to do. You can offer, you know, online only specials. There's all kinds of stuff you can do, but it's not the same. It's not as easy as just turning on a website, throwing your inventory on there, and just it goes. Okay. Number 3, you have to know everything. And this is something that I see from ladies. A lot of times ladies will come to me and they will be super overwhelmed, and they will think that first of all, they think they're behind. And I always feel like, behind who? Like, you're not behind anybody, right? Because we're all on our own path. So your reframe is to focus on the top 3 things and work on one section at a time. So I saw that a lot of you were saying that you didn't know where to start, you were confused, overwhelmed, things like that. So just remember, this is a journey and it never stops. So when you get started, you're going to have a lot of questions, but what you need to figure out is, what are the top 3 things is always to make money, right? So that's how you get to 7 figures, is when you're doing something. Okay, the end goal is to sell things, right? So what are the little pieces that you have to do to get to your end goal? And there are different categories of things that you have to do. But you being one person, you can't do all of those in one day. And you don't have to know how to do it all in one day. So what you're going to do is break it down into little pieces and work on one thing at a time. And typically you start at the beginning, right? Setting up the business, because all things lead to this sales tax identification number. If you want to sell online, you have to have that in order to purchase anything at wholesale. If you're making product, I talk about the details because it's easy for me to relate to. Let's say you're making tea towels, right? And you're embroidering them and you're selling them. You want to buy those tea towels and that product at wholesale, right? You don't want to go to like the store and pay full price for tea towels and then embroider them. So at the beginning, you want to get your sales tax identification number. Now, this is something that I read about that was so cool a few years ago, and I can't remember where I read it, but think about this. Let's pretend like when you're overwhelmed, your reframe is going to be, okay, what 3 things should I be working on right now? And think about, if you're driving in the dark and you have your headlights on, you know that the road is up there, but you can't see the whole road. So do you stop? Do you get overwhelmed and stop driving? Do you pull over to the side of the road and say, I can't go any further because I can't see what's out there? No. So you keep driving, right? And your headlights show you a little bit at a time. And the further you drive, the further you can see. So when you get overwhelmed, you need to remember that you're in a car at night driving with your headlights on. So as soon as you move forward a little bit, you're going to be able to see a little bit more. So you're not going to need to know everything at the very beginning. So don't let that overwhelm you. Isn't that awesome? Like, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, okay, I can do this, you know? Because that is so true, right? You don't just stop driving because you can't see like the end destination. You just trust that, well, and you know, right? That when you get there a little bit further, you're going to be able to see a little bit more. So if you're stuck or if you're wanting to get started right now, I have my 5-day boot camp on sale, the recordings. Now, if you're in the academy, you already have access to this. But if you're not, I've got it for $5 right now, which is just unreal. I tell you everything. It's 5 trainings. I think it's a little over 4 hours of recordings of me doing boot camp, and there are worksheets for each day, and it starts at the beginning. So if you're wanting to sell online, or if you're already selling online and you want to see if you missed anything or get better or go back and revisit the basics, I start from the beginning, you know, setting up your business, and it goes all the way through. I do end up telling you where to get products wholesale at the end. My secret that I usually don't tell, I actually give that out on the 5th day. So if I would have had this boot camp, I would have like catapulted myself probably 6, 8, 10, 12 months ahead in the beginning, because I spent a lot of time trying to figure all this out myself. Steph, you got it? Yeah. So it's $5. And then there's some other cool things that you can get. Like once you get into that, it'll say, okay, do you want to buy the VIP, which is where we set up your Shopify store? Okay, do you want to buy the Dream Boutique branding package? And that's where we do your logo, your custom email, and I do a training or 2 on branding. And then there's some other, I think there's a marketing class. There's just some super awesome stuff. And yes, Carrie, $5. Like the secret that I wish I knew back in 2013. I literally spent months trying to figure all this out. So that's something that will help you if you feel like, you know, you need some direction or guidance, or want to revisit, or, you know, want to go over the basics, or just want to hear a different point of view. Maybe you've already got a store, but you just want to hear like, okay, how did someone else do it? So for $5, it's like no brainer. I spend more than that on a coffee at Starbucks. Okay. And then number 4, number 4, traffic is hard to get. Last point, traffic is hard to get. And this is where I was so overwhelmed in the beginning. And I feel like everyone, almost everybody that I talk to or hear from is looking for traffic, because traffic leads to sales, right? I mean, duh, that's it. Like if you have traffic, you got it made, right? So it's not hard to get. You just need to figure out what your budget is, and that will lead you to what kind of traffic that you can afford. Because there were months that I spent $60,000 on ads. Yeah. So you just need to figure out, so your reframe is, instead of traffic is so hard to get, I just don't know what to do, you're going to decide, okay, your reframe is, do I want paid or unpaid traffic? Phone's getting low on battery, so if I go away, you'll know my phone died. Okay, so we're talking about traffic. There are different ways. So you can either pay, do Facebook ads. That's like the easiest. I mean, I feel like it's not really the easiest, but it's like quicker. So paid traffic is quicker, not easier, because you just basically do your ads right, and then traffic comes, right? And if you do it right, people buy things. The other way is unpaid traffic. So that's more like guerrilla marketing. So that's where you're like, and I used to do guerrilla marketing like a maniac because I had no money, right? So guerrilla marketing, it's trying to get your SEO, to get free Google traffic. I mean, that is like the best traffic you can get is free traffic from Google. And the way you do that is through your product descriptions and having a blog on your site. And there are some other ways to do that that are a little bit more detailed and technical. But the basics are, you want Google to pick up your site, and it'll run its little crawlers and it'll pick up the keywords. And if you do it properly, then all of a sudden your site is showing up when people search for those terms, right? Steph says she's been playing with ads. Yeah. So paid and unpaid. So really you just have to figure out what is your budget. Do you have a smaller budget or do you have a bigger budget? If you've got a little bit of a bigger budget, like $50 a day that you can throw into ads, what is that, like $350 a week? You could drive sales and, make more than that, right? But there's also going to be that period where you're learning and your Facebook ad is learning. So you've got to be okay with losing that money, right? Because there's going to be a little bit of time where you're trying to figure out what's going on. Facebook's trying to figure out what's going on. So you're going to have to be okay. It's kind of like every time that you buy a product to sell on your site, it's a gamble, right? So that's the same thing. Like you have to be okay with taking risks, but they're calculated risks. The free traffic, you can do that too. And then you can get the best of both worlds, right? You can get free traffic and paid traffic, but traffic's not hard to get. And the other ways that you can get traffic are to do in-person events or to do lives, things like that. And that can all drive traffic back to your site. Suzanne, I've got a new course that's coming in September that I'm working on, actually next month. And I am going to go into more detail on traffic in that course. Google SEO, it's going to be a deep dive into how to get traffic. I also have a mastermind that we're getting ready to launch next month, and that will be, we'll be breaking down your traffic that you've got and working on increasing that. So in the mastermind, we'll be saying, okay, you're getting this much traffic from Facebook. How do we deep dive on that? So what's working and how do we get more of that? So that's what we'll be doing in the mastermind. And there are a bunch of different ways to do that. And there are a bunch of different analytics to look at. And so that's what we'll be doing is, and that was always my goal, right? That's how I got to 7 figures, is analyze your numbers. Okay, what's working? What's not working? How do I do more of what's working, right? As far as traffic goes. And then you also do that with your product. What are my top selling products? What are my lowest selling products? How do I get more of the top selling products into my store so you can make more money? Because another thing that you want to work on, and that we're going to work on in the mastermind, is your average order value. So you've got the traffic, right? But how do you take that to the next level? And if the customers are spending an average of, let's say, $45, how do you get them to spend $50 instead? So there are a whole bunch of different angles that you take, and traffic is just one of those little pieces. I'm getting like super excited. So I'm working on the course and the mastermind right now. So I'm so excited to work with you guys and dig into numbers. And so that's what we're going to be doing in those. And do you guys have any questions? I feel like I just ramble away and I forget to say, hey, what do you think? Carrie, did I miss anything? Do you guys have any questions on traffic or, let's see, reframing, VIP link info? Oh yeah, so like if they already got the boot camp and they want the VIP only. Yes, I'm so excited about the mastermind too, Don. I cannot wait. Okay, how do you do a live with limited product? Oh, totally, Suzanne. You can do a live with limited product for sure. Just, I would say, do a lot of filling in with talking, or play a game, or do a drawing or something, you know, to make it more interesting if you don't have as much product. Sheila, different levels for mastermind. It's all going to be one group. And it's going to be, everyone will be working on their own thing though. So yes, but the whole goal of the mastermind is to scale. It's going to be a scaling mastermind. Like, okay, you're here, you want to be here. Let's get you there, you know? And then once you get there, okay, how do you get to the next level? Okay, Judy does craft shows. Yeah, I would say craft shows could be compared to storefront because you're mainly selling to people in person, which is what the storefront is, right? So, and the craft show is selling in person. So yeah, Judy, that's the same thing. So you'll have to do some testing to go online. But yeah, totally, that opens you up to like the whole US, right? Instead of just the people at your craft show. Steph says she loves the idea about having a blog, but she's not a writer. Steph, neither am I. I am seriously, I really liked English class, like writing papers and stuff, but I have been working for years on writing a blog, and you know what? I just do it. Literally, you just like type out your little outline. Another good way to do a blog is to just do top 10 lists. Like here are your top 5 even. I mean, just get anything on your site that has keywords. So you could say, here are the top 5, here's top 5 lists for holidays. Here are 5 ideas. I think I did a post a few years ago, how to tie a scarf. And I got a lot of hits on that. You could do a blog on how to use your product. You could write a blog on how you make your product. There are just so many things, just anything, because it's funny. I didn't realize this when I first started, but people like to see behind the scenes and to see like how you do things. It's really interesting because like, to me, I'm like, why would they want to see that? But people love that kind of stuff. So it could be how you make your product, how you pick your product, how you, how you use your product. You could, really, if you're stuck on a blog, really, I suggest just doing a top 5 list. Just put a couple sentences at the top, tell them what the list is for, write the list. And what you do is you write it, and then you can go back and add keywords into it. And that's it. And I was actually just reading the other day about SEO, and Google loves lists. And so that's where I got that idea. Yeah. They love lists, and lists, they said the longer the list, the better. So if you want to do like a top 100, Google will like that even more than a top 5. Okay, Suzanne, you have about 25 pieces. That's perfect. So just take 5 pieces for each live, you know, and rotate them. And hopefully they'll be gone and you won't get around to rotating them in the second time, right? Okay. Jen, for keywords, yes, Steph, fall trends for fashion, perfect. For keywords, if you just want to look up, what you can do is go to Google and type in your, what you're going to talk about and see what Google suggests. Like if you type in, let's see, fall fashion, see what pops up like as the suggested below that, and that's going to be what people are searching for on Google. That's one way. I can't remember, there's a site, I can't remember the name of it right now, but that's the easiest way. Okay. Yeah, if you're in the academy, definitely post something in our Facebook group. And if you guys aren't in the academy and you end up, if you purchase the course or the mastermind, you'll get access to the academy Facebook group. It's another Facebook group that we have where we talk more in depth about stuff. Okay. All right. Well, I hope this helped you guys with your reframing of your minds. And I will see you next Friday. Bye.